Karen's obsession with control had reached new heights. She was convinced every inch of my ranch should comply with her HOA rules, despite the fact my land sat completely outside their jurisdiction. The latest, she decided my log cabin by the lake was unapproved construction. At the HOA meeting, she announced, "That cabin is a violation of neighborhood guidelines. I'll have the county remove it." I chuckled. "Karen, the HOA doesn't control my property, and that cabin is perfectly legal." She smirked. "We'll see about that." A week later, I woke to the sound of trucks. I looked out my window and nearly spit my coffee. A crew hired by the HOA was unloading demolition gear right at my cabin. Karen stood there with a clipboard directing them like a general. "Take it down," she barked. "This eyesore will be gone today." I jumped in my truck and drove down. "What the hell are you doing?" Karen waved her clipboard in my face. "HOA approved demolition order. You have no authority here." I laughed so hard I nearly doubled over. "You're insane. That cabin isn't yours to touch." "Too late," she snapped. "By sundown, it'll be rubble." What Karen didn't know, and what made the whole thing hilarious, was that my cabin wasn't just any old retreat. It had been built for the governor's son. His family leased part of my land for private use, and the cabin was officially registered under a state protection program. In other words, Karen was about to bulldoze government property. I didn't bother arguing. Instead, I made one call. Within 20 minutes, black SUVs rolled up the gravel road. Out stepped 2 state troopers and a very angry man in a tailored suit, the governor himself. Karen froze. "Who are you?" The governor stepped forward. "I'm the man whose son this cabin belongs to, and you're about 5 seconds away from being charged with destruction of state property." Karen's jaw dropped. That can't be. This is HOA jurisdiction." The governor's voice went ice cold. "No, this is my jurisdiction." The demolition crew immediately backed off, muttering apologies as they packed their gear. Karen tried to save face. "I was just following the HOA bylaws." The trooper cut her off. "Ma'am, you have no authority here. You filed fraudulent paperwork and attempted to demolish state-leased property. That's a felony." Karen's face drained of color as they cuffed her right there in front of everyone. She shrieked, "You can't do this. I'm the HOA president." The governor smirked. "Not anymore, you're not." Word spread fast. Within days, Karen was booted off the HOA board, fined heavily, and slapped with community service. The HOA itself had to issue a formal apology to my family and the governor's office. Meanwhile, the governor's son sent me a handwritten note. "Thanks for protecting the cabin. Dad says you're invited to the lodge anytime." These days, the cabin still stands proud by the lake, guarded more fiercely than ever. Karen, on the other hand, doesn't even drive down our road anymore. Every time she sees me in town, she ducks her head and scurries away. She thought she could demolish my property. Instead, she nearly demolished her own freedom. Last year, I had to spend 6 months overseas for work. Before leaving, I made sure everything was secured, fences repaired, and cattle tended to. I had a ranch hand checking in weekly. Everything was in order. But when I returned, I didn't recognize my own land. Where my fields once stretched, there were rows of cookie-cutter houses, sidewalks, streetlights, driveways, and bright banners that read, "Welcome to Oak Ridge Estates, Phase 2. 138 brand new homes, built directly on my property." I nearly ran my truck off the road. I stormed straight to the HOA clubhouse, where Karen, the president, was sipping iced tea like a queen on her throne. "You've got 10 seconds to explain why there are houses on my land," I growled. Karen smiled sweetly. "Oh, don't be so dramatic. The developer decided to expand, and your ranch land was perfect. Don't worry, you'll be compensated once the sales finalize." My blood boiled. "You built on MY property without consent. That's trespass, fraud, and theft." Karen laughed. "You weren't using it. Now families will enjoy it. You should be thanking us." I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just walked out because I knew something she didn't. See, the developer who originally built their subdivision? I'd gone to school with the CEO, and while the HOA thought they were cozy with him, they forgot one important detail. Their contracts only covered the lots already sold. They had zero rights to expand without purchasing new land. And they hadn't purchased mine, which meant every one of those 138 houses was sitting illegally on my ranch. I called the CEO. Hey, you might want to check your records, I told him, because your company just built phase 2 on land I still own. There was silence on the other end of the line, followed by a panicked, "What?" I sent him the deed, the surveys, and the aerial photos. Within hours, his legal team descended on the HOA like a pack of wolves. Turns out, the HOA board had forged documents claiming they had development rights. The contractor never verified ownership, they just built. That single mistake triggered one of the biggest lawsuits in county history. The HOA was sued for fraud. The developer sued them for damages. Homebuyers sued them for selling illegal lots. And me? I sued for land theft. In the end, the HOA was completely bankrupted. Karen and her board were personally liable for millions. Their homes were seized, their assets drained, and their reputations destroyed. As for the 138 new houses, the county condemned them. Some were bulldozed, others sat empty, rotting shells of a failed scam. My ranch hand and I tore down the cheap sidewalks and fences, and I reclaimed my land. Today, when I drive past that part of my ranch, it's peaceful again, just wide, open fields. A few remnants of driveways poke through the grass like scars, reminders of what Karen and her HOA tried to steal. They thought they could take my land while I was away. Instead, they lost everything, while I gained one of the most ironclad property rights cases in county history. My ranch stood long before their HOA, and it'll still be here long after they're gone.